Welcome to Technocracy News on this November 11th, 2025, Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day, Patrick. You're a veteran, right?
Thank you. I am.
Thank you for your service.
I was. You bet.
We have
that was a long time ago, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we have 3 stories to cover today. We have, is Saudi Arabia the most technocratic nation on earth? Alex Karp, portrait of a technocrat and Palantir's CEO. And is this you? I voted for Trump. I feel completely swindled. Well, I can tell you the last one I'm seeing a lot on X right now because of the interview with Laura Ingraham that took place last night, where he basically just says, I started MAGA, and if you're upset with me, then screw it, because I know what you want more than you do.
Yeah, that's a bad attitude.
Yeah.
I think. We'll talk about it for sure. God,
well, let's start with this first story. Is Saudi Arabia the most technocratic nation on earth? And are they? For one.
Well,
but you see all this stuff coming out from them. I mean, I don't think this is done yet, but they're actually planning on building this, aren't they? This soccer stadium in the air.
Exactly. They're planning on it. And considering all the other stuff that they're trying to build right now, like NEOM, that's the line project. They're gonna attempt it. This is absolutely insane. Who wants to have a soccer stadium in the sky? Would you attend something like that? Imagine 1,500 feet up in an elevator. You have express elevator, and you're going to sit up there with a thing going like this, maybe. It's crazy.
Yeah, with all those people in there. I mean,
and what happens? What happens if there's an emergency and everybody has to get out all at once?
Yeah. Well, the main thing I'm thinking is how is that can even work with all the people getting up there? I mean, you would think you'd be waiting in lines to get on an elevator for hours.
You almost think so. Maybe they have 50 elevators.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's just showing how sci-fi they're getting with their plans and their instructions, right?
Yeah, I know. This is like an epidemic around the Mideast. This is not just in Saudi Arabia. It's everywhere. And MBS, that's the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, they call him MBS. He's leading the charge for sure, but you have to wonder, does this guy think he's Nimrod from the Old Testament? Somehow he's rebuilding the Tower of Babel? You have to wonder, but yeah. He has all the money in the world. All of his subjects, they're slaves basically at that point. He's just grabbing all the money to build these projects. And you see all these other countries as well who all have dictators like MBS, right? Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Kuwait, Iraq. All these countries are building these humongous projects. You have to wonder what's going on here. I know your dad and I share a belief that historic Babylon will likely be the seat of the restored Babylon. That's 55 miles south of Baghdad, where there's lots of construction going on right now. But when these people bring in all these erector cranes, all of a sudden they swoop in, and then the building starts, just goes crazy. They have all the slave labor that they can handle from places like Malaysia and India, and they're basically building all these things with slave labor.
Yeah, and we've talked about that in the past. I think almost a year ago, we had a story about the line and how they're using slave labor with the line. And the line has also been reduced greatly, hasn't it? The plans?
Well, they're not going to build it as fast as they want, for sure, but they've started. and they have some foundations laid for some of the city. But you have to remember, these people have all the money at their disposal that they can ever spend. And yes, there's going to be delays, but on the other hand, the intent is there, and it's just crazy. But now they're saying, well, forget NEOM at this point. We're going to build this new bridge in the sky, if you will, and this is going to be the centerpiece of our new city. It's, talk about futures, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't this remind you a little bit of Sam Altman, who just says, we're going to take over the whole world with AI, and how are we going to do it? Well, who knows? We'll get the money. We'll get the money. You'll see. And these people have the same attitude over there in Saudi Arabia at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, building these futuristic sporting arenas and everything else. But the sporting arena is really all just for distraction and get their people, sucked into these games while they take all their rights and
apparently
them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The life in this line, NEOM, this is a totally technocratic smart city. There'll be no privacy whatsoever for the people that live there. They'll be totally controlled. They'll be like the ants in the ant farm. Remember, I used to have an ant farm when I was a kid. So I didn't probably have it for too long, but all the ants died.
Yeah, I had one for a couple weeks, I think.
But this is basically the concept of the line. And who would want to live in that kind of a situation in the first place? But they're thinking, well, we're just going to herd people in there, and they'll like it.
Yeah, there's all this talk about open air prisons. I mean, if anything's an open air prison, it's this. You'd be trapped between two walls, can't get out.
I know. You almost hear President Trump kind of being modeled over there with these technocrats like MBS, who's basically saying, I know what you want. I'm going to build it for you. And there you go. And it'll be built, and everybody's going to be herded in there to live happily ever after, I guess.
Not me. I'm not living in something like that.
I know. So this is an interesting story. You have to this is the kind of story you just have to catalog in your mind to figure out where is the world headed at this point. You can see clearly that the Mideast is a totally technocratic, sold out for technocracy place in the world at this point. It's not even America. It's not even Silicon Valley. This is the headquarters of technocracy in the whole world. Every one of these countries are just head over heels in love with technocracy. So there you go.
Well, if that's the case, when these technocrats do take over, then the Islamists will have a huge influence over them.
You bet. That's the point, I think. I personally see Islam as being the coming world religion more than anything else at this point. How it will look exactly, I don't know. Maybe they'll ditch some of the Sharia stuff to make it more, compatible for other countries, but maybe not. But, Europe at this point, they've succumbed to Islam.
Well, there's already, I feel that there's already a rise of Americans converting to Islam. I mean, yes, I see it online of kids my age saying that they're converting to Islam.
Yeah. It's really interesting that Islam preaches a standard of morality that young people at this point, they're gravitating to it because they see there's structure, and it gives them a place to feel like they're in a cocoon and not spread all over the landscape. And this is a false read, in my opinion, but you can understand why young people are going into Islam. It's a false read.
I also think it has to do with how churches, Christian churches in America have become so passive and open to LGBTQ. They don't stand on principles, while Islam stands on what they, they are firm, at least. And they see Christians as they're not really standing for what the Bible says.
Yes, indeed. That's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. And we'll talk about this in another show, I'm sure. But I've been talking about the defection, the falling away, if you will, of the church in America. All these people that are crying, revival, revival, there's going to be a great move for Christ and that sort of stuff. I don't see this at all, because all of a sudden, the whole thing, the whole movement is morphing into something else. And it's not biblical Christianity at this point. So that's a very dangerous thing that we're pursuing at this point.
Yeah, well, when we come back from the break, we'll go to Alex Karp, Portrait of a Technocrat and Palantir CEO. We've talked a lot about him, but you have a whole article here on Alex Karp. So we'll dive into that here right after this break.
You bet.
Go to worldviewtalk.com. Get your satellite phone like I have, because you know what? China is in on our power grid. That is a matter of proven fact. If you want to have communications with your loved ones, your family, your children, maybe your spouse travels, maybe you have a child away at college, you want communication should the grid go down. That's why you need a satellite phone, worldviewtalk.com. But look what else they have. They also have solar generators. I have one of their solar generators. I have the Delta Echo 400, a solar generator. So I can, of course, charge my satellite phone. I can run my coffee pot. I can run my whole house if I want to. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com, or use that number, 1-866-738-3224. They have very friendly operators that will explain to you their products, but you can explain to them what it is you're desiring to acquire. How much electricity are you wanting to generate with this solar generator? Well, they'll tell you what size you need. Worldviewtalk.com or 1-866-738-3224. We have a big announcement, folks, something we've been waiting on for several months, and it's now here. It's called Bella Melt. You were on it for just 1 week when you lost 3 pounds. So in the first week, you lost 3 pounds on this, right?
That is correct.
Your GLP-1 is a natural hormone that's in every single one of our bodies. And your GLP-1 lets you know if you're full. It's a satiety hormone. So when your GLP is working properly, it does help suppress your appetite as well as reduce those cravings. It's a sugar-free fast melt caramel. So what it's going to do best is it's going to reduce your sugar cravings or any other cravings you have in your body. It's going to suppress that appetite. But where Melissa got the most benefit, I think, over the last week was the L-carnitine. The L-carnitine tells your mitochondria, this is where you make, we've talked about it before, this is where you produce energy in your cells. It actually tells those mitochondria to burn fat for fuel. We're noticing other people losing up to 7 pounds in the first week. 4 pounds has been about the average. As you lose weight and as you take these Bella Melts, it's going to help lower that blood sugar in your body as well.
All the information is there. MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. Just now introducing for the first time Bella Melt with GLP-1 Fast Action.
All right, welcome back from the break. Let's go now to Alex Karp, Portrait of a Technocrat and Palantir's CEO. Now, we've talked about him in the past. He was a Kamala donor and a Democrat guy who funded Democrat campaigns. And now, since Trump's got in, he's all of a sudden had this switch, right?
He has. Exactly. he was he was basically a lifelong Democrat before he switched. He identified as a socialist as well, outright. But now he's swung into the Trump campaign or whatever, on the right now, and he's basically supplying all the surveillance software that's being used all around the world at this point. But here's an interesting. This is not your. He's not a programmer at all. Never coded anything. But kind of like Sam Altman. Sam Altman never coded anything either. He's a business guy, pure and simple. But here you have Alex Karp, who has a PhD in philosophy from Germany. Go figure. He also is biracial. I didn't know that. He looks very white to me, but he is, in fact, biracial. His mother is a black woman. And on top of that, he's severely dyslexic. Now, you can't read stuff correctly, right? Mm-hmm. You get words switched around and stuff like that. And he's never learned to drive. He says, well, when I was too poor, I couldn't drive. I couldn't afford it. Now I'm too rich and I have a chauffeur. This guy's a real piece of work. How did he get to the top of Palantir? This is what I want to figure. I just can't figure who is this guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, this article does a good job of exposing some of these things about him. This is like an overview of personality, the mindset, that sort of stuff. And I've always been one to want to dig into the mindset of people, like the technocrats and historic technocracy as well. But this is a good article that kind of underscores here. It says, for instance, that he has a PhD, get this, in neoclassical social theory.
Huh.
Wow. Does that blow your mind? And here he is, the biggest surveillance guy in the world now. How does this mesh?
Yeah, and he's on video saying we took out the far right in Europe, and saying that there's a lot of clips of him saying some crazy things about killing our enemies, scaring our enemies. I mean, he's in the business of warfare, so he's talking about that, but there's just some very odd clips of him.
Yes, he's not to be trusted, and that's in the sense that he's a conservative at this point. Not at all.
Yeah.
But what game is he playing? Maybe he's just sucking up to Trump so he can get all these military contracts, which they have, right? Trump has opened the door for Palantir all over the place. And like, for instance, to capture all the data that was sprung by Doge. And, Palantir is going to be the one to make sense of it. And it's important to understand, too, about Palantir. They're not an AI company like Sam Altman is with OpenAI. They don't do AI in that sense, where they store and train and store massive amounts of data and so on. Palantir is the analytical software that runs on top of everybody else's data. Right, so they've made the decision along the way. We're not going to be the collector of data. We'll let all you other people do that for us. But then, when you get your data ready, we're going to swoop in. We're going to make sure you understand your data, so that you can weaponize it and turn it against your constituents. That's just a distinction that's made clear in this article as well.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, he's definitely someone to watch. And Palantir is becoming one of the biggest companies in the world, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And it's a very it's a very cash-rich company as well, because they don't have they don't have products they sell like cars or whatever. There's no cost of goods sold in particular. So, software is very, very rich for the people that own it and have the proprietary rights to it.
And they don't have the cost, since they're not doing all the storing of the data and everything like all these other AI companies. They don't have this cost of the buildings and keeping all that running.
That's exactly right. They've made a very strategic decision to do that. That's that's Peter Thiel. He's a master strategist.
Well, we have one last story for today. We have, is this you? I voted for Trump. I feel completely swindled.
Now, this article.
Now, it may not be you, but I think a lot of people. Are starting to head that way.
Exactly. This was an opinion piece that appeared in USA Today. They're doing this. This is just a guy, I guess, that submitted a letter, but nevertheless, he's a libertarian and he's squawking that he feels swindled. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I just look at the article and I see he used the word betrayed in the article, and I just said, well, I identify with that because that's the name of my book, right? The Final Betrayal. Yes, indeed. So this was noteworthy article to post because it gave me an opportunity to talk about our book, The Final Betrayal. It's been out for a week now, and it's selling very well, I have to say. We have lots of orders. Amazon is cruising. In fact, I think on Amazon, it said the Kindle version at least is, what was it? The #1 book in utopian whatever. I don't even know what that is, but they put us in some category. We're #1 anyway. But people are reporting now that the book is hitting the mark, and I'm so glad possibly that this would be the book that will wake America up. It's easy to read. Everybody's saying this. I made it that way in the first place. This short book, I wanted 120 pages. We're over that, but nevertheless, it's a very short book to read. And some people are reporting even that read it like in an afternoon or in an evening. So the message can hit home very quickly. And one church in Northern California, interestingly, I don't know where they got the books, maybe from me, maybe from Amazon, I don't know, but the pastor and his wife read the book, and then they handed out 9 copies to the people in the church to read as well. That was very cool. So anyway, it's going to hit a mark. Yeah. And one of the things that I really stressed in here, and this my comments at the top of this, sometimes you can look at your enemies and figure out if your enemies are talking about something and they hit the mark, you should pay attention to them, right? Not to adapt their positions necessarily, but you should pay attention to what your enemies are saying about you and other things that's going on in society. And in the 1940s, the Communist Party, the Marxist Party in America, hated technocracy with a passion. You say, well, what were they all upset for? Communism is, nobody likes it. At least today, we know it's really ugly and it's killed so many people in the last century. Who would want to do that? Well, this was the complaint, that the Marxists were leveling at technocracy. In 1944, the monthly organ of revolutionary Marxism, the New International, they wrote this. Just listen to it. Just absorb this. Maybe this was written yesterday. direct quote, where the economic and where the economic analyst notes the development of this type of chronic unemployment. Scott, that's Howard Scott, the inventor of Technocracy Inc., records nothing less than the abolition of human labor. One of the fundamental tenets of technocracy is that labor has become non-essential to society. Does that sound exactly what they're saying today?
Yeah.
Not the Marxists, but even the people, the technocrats like Sam Altman and
Elon talking about how
Elon
we're
Musk.
going to have to go to UBI because we're not going to have people working and everything's going to be cheap. You know, it's going to be a utopia because you can just get whatever you want because the robots are going to be making everything and everything's going to go way down in price.
Yes, exactly. So we see the slippery slope now. It took them 100 years to get to this point, to be able to obviate the value of labor altogether. This is a very dangerous thing. I really hope people, our listening audience here, get a copy of this book. You can get it on technocracy.news, on Amazon, and Books By as well, books.by. It's there. You can search for Books By / Patrick Wood. That'll get you there.
Awesome. Well, we're all out of time for today. I don't know if anyone who still is very strong. I mean, we appreciate President Trump for, we supported him throughout this whole thing, but I don't know if anyone who's a very hardcore Trump person still is still watching. But if you are, you can't deny that he's doing things very questionably. I mean, even just in the last couple of days, I mean, if you get upset about a book like this or a program that's criticizing him, then I don't know if you're really watching what's going on.
I know. I'm a realist. I voted for Trump. I'll say it. I did. I said it before. I was going to vote for him, and if he made a U-turn after he was elected, I'd go after him. But I voted for him willingly with my eyes open. I probably won't do it again, but at this point, what can I say? We've all been betrayed, whether you realize it or not. We've been so betrayed because technocracy is taking over our country. We do not want that.
Yeah. The literal enemies of MAGA, who are the tech bros, are now leading MAGA in the second term. So
that's right.
We're all out of time for today. We'll be back on Thursday, new episode. Till then, take care.
God bless.